Thank you. Okay, so we do have a quorum, and welcome everyone to our board meeting for the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind. Board Member Hanson, I do see you now, so thank you. So we will go ahead. We have some info. Do we have any public comment today? Did anyone sign up for a public comment that you know of?
No public comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Sybil. Okay, we will go on to 5.2 is a discussion to review the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind student fee schedule. And Superintendent Coleman, I'll turn it to you, but you may turn it to someone else.
Thank you. I'll handle a quick overview, and if the board wants any more in-depth information, then Carl is here to answer the hard questions. This item and the next item are both just compliance items. Nothing has actually changed in our fees. The board has already approved these fees, but in order to comply with all of the rules surrounding fees, we have to have two opportunities for the public to comment. So this month and next month, you'll see the same items, and then following the public comment period next month, you will actually take a vote to approve both the policy and the fee schedule that are attached to your agendas today. As you can see, we only have 3 student fees, which are a $100 fee to participate in any sports. It is a driver's ed fee that we have added because we are hopefully this next year getting a driver's ed car, and that'll be very helpful for our deaf kids. We don't anticipate teaching driver's ed to many of our blind kids for obvious reasons, but you never know. If they have low vision, they might qualify someday, someone. And then the other fee is for study abroad trips, which is refundable, and we give the money back to the kids to use during the trips as part of their learning experience. But then we also had to set a fee for a maximum that any family would pay for any student each year, which is pretty low. It's, I think, $1,000 total. We don't actually anticipate people reaching that amount, but that's what it is. You can see we've got all of the compliance items listed in there, including the process for fee waivers and everything else in our policy. And so that's what you have before you, and it will come back again next year next month after your discussion this month.
So Superintendent, is there is there someone who can drive and put that up for those who can't toggle screens? It would be very helpful.
Does somebody from USDB want to share their screen, or would you like me to?
Angie, it would be great if you could do it.
All right, just a moment.
So are there 4 fees there then?
No, there are only 3. There are only 3 fees. The 4th item is a maximum annual fee limit.
Oh, that's your limit. Okay. All right. And then the policy, you have a policy. What did you create, or a rule? What did you create in your?
It's a policy, and it is actually the same policy the board approved previously, but we did not have the public comment period that we're complying with now. This was a lot of this is subject to an audit that was done by the fee people there at the Board of Education, their staff, and so we added a few more things here so that it's very clear to parents that they have fee waivers and how the decisions are made and so forth. Our fee policy is more extensive, and we even added some additional links to that too, subject to their recommendations. We just accepted all of their recommendations and put them in there.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Does anyone have any questions on this? This is just a discussion item today. We don't have a vote on this today. I don't see any hands, so we'll go on to 5.4, Superintendent. I guess Carl.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chairs, Mr. Chair, and board members. The financial report that we're presenting today is for the 8 months that ended February 28th. We are financially solvent. And as you can see on your screen, we received just over $33 million transfers from the state and your state office. We spent almost $29.2 million for the 8 months, giving us a surplus of $3.9 million of our inflows that exceeded our expenditures. So we're off to a good start and everything looks really good. If you can scroll down just a little bit, our number of students served as of the end of February was 2,629 students. Our land grant enrichment fund balance is $802,274. Our donated funds is $284,173. And our education foundation balance is just about $1.24 million. The report, that's the financial report. The following report, the budget status report, is all the salient detail that supports these numbers. And Madam Vice Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have before we get into the enrichment funds.
Thank you. Carl, I don't see any hands, so we can go on to enrichment. Thank you.
Okay. On the enrichment fund balance, you had approved, after the advisory council recommended, you approved back in May of last year, $1,526,000 in projects. We have spent just over $770,000, giving us a balance remaining to spend of $756,000 before the end of the fiscal year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
We do have one question, Chair Huntsman. Chair, are you on mute?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, thank you. No, I don't want to turn my video on. I might lose you. On the enrichment funds, we show our expenses, but do you have anything encumbered in here too, or in this space, or to better reflect the remaining balance? Or
Yes, we do, Mr. Chair. The audiology van for the $200,000 has been encumbered. They've been building that, and it should be done by December or January of next year. So that's been encumbered. So that really brings us down to about $555,000 remaining before the end of the year.
so would it be possible on this, as you're giving your report here on the encumbered, to add a column or something there? Or it might have been in one of your other reports.
No, it hasn't been in one of the other reports, and we can modify this to show it's encumbered for future meetings.
Without objection from Madam Chair there, I think it would benefit us. Then I have a follow-up.
Go ahead, Chair.
Yesterday, it was really exciting. You know, we're looking at the Braille machine. I actually tested my skills, which I have 0. We got to figure out how I can get more sensitive fingers, and have to kind of figure that out. But the one thing that was not really alarming, but it caught me off guard a little bit, is on the needs have been there. And as a board member, I'm sitting there going, I say this often, what more can we do? With our action yesterday on the Braille pieces, I know that's a betterment, but have we pushed the water to the end of the row? And if not, is there an opportunity to use any of our carry forward and or these enrichment funds to bring those betterments forward. That could be something that you bring back at another board meeting. But I just want to get this off my notes here, and while we're talking about budget. So that's my question.
Thank you, Chair. I want to piggyback on that as part of the answer. And is there something other than braillers that our students need that we aren't giving them, or feel like we could give them or should give them?
Is it okay if we have Susan speak to this? It's perfect timing for that question, and she has been all over finding excellent solutions for this. Go ahead.
Great. Go ahead, Susan.
I'm happy to do that. Thank you for bringing the question up. Chair Huntsman said that it was alarming, and to be quite honest, that's how both Leah and I felt as far as when we were going through with Armando, who is the director of USIMAC, and Sarah Lovato, who is also the director of our Educational Resource Center, and looking at our braillers, the braillers that are being sent out. Now, the braillers can be, if they're kept up and not just fixed when they're broken, but kept up and that we're maintaining those braillers, they do get better with time. That's what I have been told. I don't have a lot of experience with that. However, the goal would be that we do keep those braillers, maintain those braillers, so that all of the new ones that are coming in, those 200 braillers that are going to be coming in, are kept up. That we're working on them on a yearly basis. So that was one of the pieces. The other piece is assistive technology, and it's along the same lines, in that assistive technology for blind and visually impaired individuals is extremely expensive. And you could pretty much ask anybody who is using assistive technology statewide, whether they're an adult or a student or parents of students, and they would say that would be one of the biggest needs for a productive life for our students. We are looking at different sources of funding, and we're looking at the foundation actually to fund several $100,000 dollars in assistive technology, so we can do the same thing that we're doing with the braillers, in that we have a repository, a very robust repository, so that we can loan those out to students, and that then districts would be responsible for purchasing that. But we also want to give districts the opportunity to keep enough data to say, yes, this is going to be effective. So short answer to that, was kind of a long explanation, is that we are looking at all of these various needs, Vice Chair Belknap, as far as assistive technology, braillers, and making sure that we're utilizing the funds in a way that is clear to the public, and that we're answering questions for parents. The other thing that we've done just recently, a week ago, and Superintendent Coleman approved it, is that we're changing our Educational Resource Center policy so that we're going to extend that loan or period date to 90 days instead of 30 days, which is going to give districts and families a longer time to, again, see if those pieces of equipment and the braillers are going to work. One of the things that we're also looking at is, what do we do with these, the braillers that are 10 years old that need to be fixed? And there's been there's been some conversation back and forth, and this would not be a decision that the School for the Blind is making. We would always make this in conjunction with USBE. But one of the ideas is that we do give those out to students as a consumable product that then the district or the family would then be responsible to fix, but that would be theirs and theirs to keep. So there's a lot of, and that's just an idea. That's not necessarily what will happen, but that's just an idea that we've been emailing back and forth, and there have been parents involved in that as well. So we're kind of in the beginning stages of that, or maybe not the beginning stages. We're right in the middle of that, and trying to figure out what to do, but we do recognize the need, and we're resolving that need, and then we're putting a plan in place to make sure this isn't going to happen in future years. So we're replenishing what needs to be replenished, and then we'll have a plan to make sure that we're not in this same situation.
One thing I'll just add to that real quick is that with all the discussion recently about the 3% rule and all that, USDB does a lot of things outside the 3% rule that are available to all districts and charter schools, no matter what. This is one of those things. We do consultation and evaluations, and our AT, our accessible technology experts, are available for any districts in the state. And so we've been helping those. It doesn't matter where a child is, they can get access to this because it really is a very highly specialized thing that hardly any districts have access to otherwise.
Jenny, do you have a follow-up question on this, or is it another question?
Yeah, it's related.
Okay.
Can I ask? Yes. So, and maybe it's just some information. I think the pandemic, which has maybe been a blessing in some ways, as crazy as that sounds, helps us to find those areas of great need. And I think in this case, it found that, as there was an increase of individual resources needed based on what the accessibility of online information and other things, that this just helped us to go, yeah, you know what, I think we can move in this area in this direction, and I think we can accomplish that. And I'm grateful for those staff and individuals and parents that have helped to articulate the needs here. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Davis, are you having a follow-up to this?
It was just a question about the technology, the assistive technology.
Go ahead. I just have a question. I just don't want to not have it be related. So go ahead.
Okay. I just wondered if those assistive technology experts are they USDB employees, or are they housed with USIMAC, or how does that work?
No, those are USDB employees. So we have one of the things, and I really one of my big I don't know what the word is, but I really wanted to push assistive technology. And so we're really building up that team. And for instance, this year we're hiring an assistive technology educator that's going to be a full-time educator on that team for evaluation purposes. We have, we're building that team up. Another thing we're doing, so the short answer, Board Member Davis, is yes, they're USDB, not USIMAC. But they are available statewide. And I want to be very clear on that we are doing consultation with kids in 3% districts and USDB, but that is a statewide resource. So even though the salaries are paid from USDB, the assistive technology, that's why the foundation is such a great resource for us to ask for this amount of equipment, because it would be used statewide for loaner purposes. Another aspect of the foundation that our foundation director, Amy Zaharis, commented on was the possibility of maybe the foundation funding things for individual families, which in the school system, we wouldn't necessarily be able to do that. So that again meets a need, a greater need for students, because again, assistive technology is never cheap for our students. And anyway, but yes, there are employees.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up, Chair. I just want to say thank you. And assistive technology is so important. It's so crucial, but I really like your vision of understanding that we need this kind of technical support, but we also need a person with instructional capacity, how these things dovetail and how they're used. So thank you.
And I will just make one comment too. We rely on our teachers of visually impaired statewide, district, 3% district and district TVIs and USDB TVIs to help as far as that expertise is concerned. So it's a nice partnership, because those TVIs know those students and we rely on that.
Thank you. So I do have another question, and I'm not really sure who it will be directed to. First, I have a comment that a lot of repairs on computers and different things are being done by students in traditional schools, and they're learning how to do that. I'm just wondering, a thought that maybe we could teach someone how to repair some of these, and they are students. But now my question is you said that all of these brailers are coming back in. Why don't they stay out? Not the temporary period of 60 to 90 days. Why don't they stay out like through summer and so on?
Well, the brailers do stay out. The problem, when I say they come back in, they're coming back broken. So,
Got it.
and we've had, and that's been a complaint, and rightly so. When I say complaint, it's been a concern of different folks, different TBIs really throughout the state. And again, and rightly so. So what happens is the student will be using them, it will break, and then they send the brailer back. We're sending them to actually, in the past, it's been to the California prison system and it's got a name. I'm sorry that it's left me, and then they send it back. And the problem is so the California prison system sends it back to us, then we send it back out. That's not working because they're not fixing them well. And we haven't been maintaining that. So that when I say they're coming back, it's not because they're
okay. That's all I need to know,
Okay.
Susan. That's
All right.
so helpful. Thank you so much. Okay, I don't see any other hands on this topic. Carl, do you have more for us today?
I don't. That is my financial report, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Superintendent, we will go to 5.5, which is your report.
Thank you. All right, looking at my list here, just a heads up, we are right on track on our budget formulation. And so in your next meeting in May, we will be presenting the annual budget for you to approve. And we have I guess a couple months before July 1st when that actually takes place. And so that will be coming to you. We are also, we've been spending a lot of time recently working with Superintendent Jones, Superintendent Voorhees, and others preparing our presentation for the Executive Appropriations Committee. As you may recall, we had funding approved for the 2 new buildings, one in Salt Lake and one in St. George, contingent upon the USBE and the Division of Construction and Facilities Management working together to report back to the Executive Appropriations Committee as far as cost effectiveness, efficiency, and so forth, which really means we're doing a review. And I will be visiting, Carl and I both will be visiting St. George for the USSA meetings this coming Monday and Tuesday. And we will be meeting with the superintendents in that Southwest region and others and gathering more information. We've already created a draft outline of our presentation. And so I'm telling you all this because we will be presenting that information to you before we go to the Executive Appropriations Committee, because it's actually the State Board of Education that needs to report to them. So we're just getting all that lined up so that you'll be able to do that effectively. Another thing that we've been working on is, well, our facilities, of course. The Mill Creek Portable is waiting for just one last thing, and that is the alarm system to be approved, and then it will be usable. So even though it's April, we're going to get in there. The St. George Portable will be finished in June, so it'll be ready for next school year. That's all good. And that should tide us over, well, barely, we'll see, for the next few years until we get a permanent building with more classrooms. Another thing that's happening, our 70-48 race has shifted to the blind school only. They're doing a great job. They had a trial run, a test training run at Lake Powell last week, and they're looking forward to that in June, again, like last year. And currently, you'll notice Superintendent Tanner is missing from our meeting. It's spring break for our Salt Lake schools, and the deaf school is in Germany right now, having their first study abroad experience since pre-COVID years. And so that's very exciting. So far, everything is great and seems to be going well. The School for the Blind will be heading to London in May, and we'll have more on that closer to that time. Another thing coming up in April, we are hosting the CEASD conference, which is all the deaf schools in the country, the National Association of Deaf Schools. And it's really great that we are able to host that because it helps us showcase what's going on here. And there's some very interesting chatter about that. So it's fun for us to hear. Most of these states have like one deaf school here or one there. We're fortunate that our state took a holistic approach and we cover the whole state. And parents don't have to choose which modality they use, whether it's LSL or ASL English. they get to have it all in one place. And that's a source of some jealousy for other schools. But even the oldest deaf school in the country, American School for the Deaf in Connecticut, they have opened up an LSL program now, and they've been consulting with us to see how actually we balance that challenging dynamic. And so we're excited to have our colleagues from across the country visit us. We also have prom coming up, graduation events, and we will continue to send you dates. So if any of you are ever interested in attending any of those events, just let us know and we'll make sure to have accommodations for you and have an interpreter or whatever else is needed. And then the most exciting news of the whole last week, UHSAA just approved 8-on-8 football for Division I schools, which includes USDB, and it's co-ed. So that means our kids who for as long as I can remember have been aching to play football will finally get a football team. And we're ordering the pads and the helmets and all the stuff. And we're going to improve the field behind our Ogden campus for a practice field. And we're going to start talking to the local high schools about using their fields for official games when we host these outlying rural districts that also will play 8-on-8. But it has been just so exciting for us to think about doing that. And as you saw in the Super Bowl, the California School for the Deaf had the deaf school was in the championship game, in the state championship. And so our kids are just so delighted that that's going to be an opportunity for them now as well. That's all I have on my list of things, unless Susan has anything additional to share as part of the superintendent report.
You actually touched on everything that I was going to touch on. I did want to just say that the School for the Blind, we sent out a survey to get stakeholder inputs, mainly from our teachers of the visually impaired across the state, for how we are spending our expanded core curriculum funds for activities, so that we were getting input from all districts throughout the state, because of course they're participating as well. So I did want to make you aware of that as we're looking forward to next year and establishing those activities. So, and then the 7048 also, we're scheduled to go do the overnight, which sounds terrible to me, but these kids are so excited. It's wonderful. But overnight Willard Bay, so they'll launch at about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock that night on a Friday night, the 29th, and they'll finish at about 7 a.m. I will be up most of the night because I'll be worried, but it's more of a kind of a motherly worry than any, because they're so competent. So, but we are preparing for that, and they're doing a great job. And as Jill said, we have 4 girls and 4 boys as far as blind visually impaired kids. So I'm excited that we have as many girls as we do boys on this trip. So.
And they're from all around the state. They're not just USDB.
From all around the state. Yep, they're right. That's right. So, so that's all I have as far as, and if anybody has any questions at any time, please feel free to reach out. I did want to also thank Board Member Earl for coming to USIMAC. Those employees really enjoyed having you and to give an overview of what they do. I apologize that Armando nor myself could be there, but thank you for taking the time to do that. They commented how delightful it was to have you there.
Thank you. It was enjoyable.
Good.
That's great. And if that concludes your report, Superintendent?
It does. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, I just wanted to bring up that KN sign. If you don't watch that video, which you won't know what it says, but it is such a cute story about ASL. And she won 2nd place. Was it at a national conference?
Yeah.
Was it a Gallaudet?
It was a Gallaudet thing. And I actually sent that to some ASL teachers of English, of hearing kids, in our local high schools, because it was such an impressive display. Even if no one understands sign language, it was her expressions and her storytelling ability was phenomenal. I'm glad you brought that up.
It was so cute. And then I just wanted to bring up one thing. I think it would be important once you get your dates, because the State Board of Education is your board, that when you have your next year dates, that they all could have a copy of the dates of events that are set and established, then they could get them on their calendars ahead of time.
Very good.
I will have Susan Thomas follow through with that. She's our calendar keeper for the board now. So thanks for that.
Okay, thank you. We do have one more question. Board Member Straight.
Yeah, Superintendent, just wanted to throw out there, since I'm here in Ogden, if you need any help or assistance in kind of getting it off the ground with football. I'd love to help. I've coached football for many years in my previous position.
Oh yeah, thank you. I will definitely keep that in mind, and we'll be in touch.
Plus, he's also on the board of trustees for the UHSAA, so that also is a maybe double duty there. And besides that, put Brent to work.
Right.
So I don't see any other hands, so I will consider this the conclusion of this portion of our meeting at the USDB governing board meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great
Everybody.
weekend.
Thank you, everyone.